The 2023 college football season has seen a lot of surprising teams rise to the top. We've seen teams like Texas, Florida State, Arizona, Missouri, Liberty, and James Madison really shock a lot of people with the season that they've put together. And I can name many more teams who have had better seasons than people expected. But the Washington Huskies were under a lot of people's radars this year, and hardly anybody expected the Washington Huskies to have the season they had, as they've now finished with a 13-0 record and they are the 2 seed in this year's playoff bracket. And even after all the doubting people have done on this team, they continue to win the big games even when they're the underdogs. And they beat the top 10 ranked team, the Oregon Ducks, twice this year. And the second time they played Oregon, they were 10-point underdogs. So there's no denying that even with all the odds against Washington, they have earned their spot in this year's playoffs. They continue to impress me every week. And I will admit, I have doubted the Huskies, but I'm done doubting them, because in this video, I wanted to show this team some respect and talk about 7 reasons why I think they can win the national championship in 2023. And ultimately, I really think the Final 4 teams are even, so it's really open for any of the teams. But Washington knows how to win the big games. But before I get into this video, here's a reminder to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, because we post daily college football videos. And I got a lot of videos planned for the month of December. And starting next Monday, I will start posting my bowl predictions for every single bowl game this year, and I will have 5 separate videos over the span of a couple weeks, so be sure to tune in for more awesome videos. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. The first reason I think they can win a national title is obviously because of their head coach, Kalen DeBoer. Every great team has a great coach, and when you talk about the best college football teams, the coach is always one of the main focal points of the team. Because without a coach, you cannot teach the players. And great coaches help build championship teams. And Kalen DeBoer is already creating a legacy that will be remembered. Because in just his second year at Washington, he has helped this team finish with an undefeated season. And in his first year, he finished 11-2. And he was 3-0 against ranked opponents, and he also beat Texas in the Alamo Bowl. He is also 3-0 against Dan Lanning, and he has shown that he can win the big games. And many coaches cannot say that. But he still has a lot more to prove. And a game against Texas might be his biggest test yet in the playoffs. So we'll see how the team handles a very tough game against the Texas Longhorns. The second reason I think this team can win a national championship is because of Michael Penix Jr. I haven't seen many quarterbacks play with as much heart and grit as Michael Penix Jr. plays with. He may have his down moments and sometimes he's off, but he always picks himself up and makes the big plays when it matters the most. And he is the leading passer in the country, thrown for over 4,000 yards at 4,218 passing yards. And when Michael Penix Jr. is on, trust me, he is on. I've seen the guy make deep throws in places that nobody else can. And his back shoulder throw is one of the best in the country. His toughness and capability of making elite plays is almost unmatched. And there's a reason he's near the top of the Heisman race. And if Washington wants a chance to win it all, they need Michael Penix Jr. to be at his best. And we've seen him show up when games matter the most. And the playoffs is ultimately the most important time of the year. Or at least it should be for the Washington Huskies. So we'll see how they handle even more pressure going into the playoffs. The third reason I think they can win a national title is because of the receivers they have on that team. And I'm mainly talking about Rome Odunze. And Rome Odunze is also a guy that makes plays when the game matters the most. And that's what makes this team special. And when you throw a one-on-one ball to Rome Odunze, let's just say there's a 90% chance he'll catch it. Because if I'm being honest, I really haven't seen Rome Odunze drop many one-on-one balls this year. And he can make amazing catches in traffic like nobody else can. Go back to that game against Oregon State where they took a risk throwing it up to him to put the game away, and ultimately he made the play. Rome Odunze is a very scary guy to guard. But you also got a guy like Jalen Polk, who is also a decent one-on-one receiver, but he has 1,000 receiving yards on the year, and he's also been really impressive. And then to complete the receiving core, you have Jalen McMillan, who is a very good slot receiver. He missed half of the season due to injury, but he is officially back. And this Washington offense is scary going into the playoffs. And it only gets better, because for my fourth reason, I have Dillon Johnson. He is the leading rusher on this team, and it's not even close. He's really the only guy on the team that runs the ball, but there's still a question mark on this Washington offense being too one-dimensional. But Dillon Johnson continues to get the run game going even more every week. And he's ran for 1,000 yards on the year, and the offensive line continues to improve. And if we see the Washington Huskies offense clicking at all cylinders, they will be very dangerous. But ultimately, I still don't think we've seen Washington play their best game all season. I feel like they're a lot more capable of playing a better game. And something they do a lot that isn't really good is play down to their competition. and that's why they have so many close games. But that's honestly just their comfort zone. So the only way Washington might actually lose is if they get beat by double digits, because Washington, when they're in close games, they can win the close games, and they can win in many ways. And that also leads to my fifth reason I think they can win a national championship, and it's because they're a very tough team. This team really fights till the end every single time they play. They find many ways to win the game. They can win the big game by throwing up a one-on-one ball. They can also win the game by running the ball down your throats, or they can win the game by making a defensive play. This team has won almost all of their games by one possession this year. I believe they had like 3 or 4 blowout games to start the year. But ever since then, they've won every game by 10 points or less. And they just can't lose. And a lot of people still think this Washington team is a red flag because of how many close games they played. But does anybody actually have what it takes to blow this team out? Because this Washington team does not let up. And they're very tough. And they play 4 quarters. And if they play in a close game, I would honestly favor them. Because they're dangerous in crunch time. And people really need to stop doubting this team. Because this team has a different vibe. And I don't feel like they're due to get blown out like other people say. But that's just my opinion. My sixth reason I think they can win the national championship is because their defense is not what people think it is. Yes, their defense has given up a lot of yards this year, but this defense is still hard to score on, and very hard to score on in the fourth quarter. Their defense makes plays when the games matter the most, and their defensive line is really tough up front, and they have good edge rushers, but nobody really talks about Washington's defense because they are a Pac-12 team, and they are overlooked because of some of their stats. But they have guys like Braylon Trice, who has sacked the quarterback 5 times, and he's very tough up front, and he can really get to the quarterback. But they also have other guys that can really make it hard on the quarterback, and I can't even pronounce half of their names. A lot of their names are just too hard to pronounce. But they all have special names, and they are all special players, and they've also forced 18 turnovers on the year. But just like their run game has been improving, I see a lot of improvements in their defense every single week. And this team can win the game with their offense, but if their offense struggles, their defense steps up. They are just a very tough team, and it's going to be hard to stop Washington. And the seventh reason I think they can win the national championship is because they're the underdogs. And being an underdog maybe necessarily isn't a good thing, but it is for Washington. Because despite being the underdog, they continue to prove people wrong. And I think they like that they are the underdogs, and it keeps them motivated. And it's dumb that they're underdogs against Oregon State. And it's even dumber how big of an underdog they were against Oregon. Maybe it was reasonable for Oregon to be favorites, but 10-point favorites is just absolutely ridiculous now that I look back. Because ultimately, Washington beat them the first time around. And I honestly think this Washington team has that mentality that they need to prove everybody wrong. And they are full of veterans on this team. And that's why they always find a way to win games in the end. And we've seen this team win games when people doubt them. And they will likely also be underdogs against Texas. And I doubt they'll be favorites in the national championship game either. They're probably going to be underdogs in that game too. So there's no doubt about it that Washington knows people are doubting them. But it might just be their comfort zone being the underdog. Because it just makes them fight harder and harder until they win in crunch time. Washington has a chance to make history and be the first Pac-12 team in the playoff era to win a national championship. And at least help the Pac-12 out on a good memory. Because the Pac-12 has struggled to be relevant in recent memory. And hardly anybody in the Pac-12 has ever been relevant. I know teams like Washington and Oregon have been consistently good, and they definitely are relevant teams. But all around, the Pac-12 just hasn't been relevant. And Washington and Oregon have not won a natty. But actually, Washington did win a natty, but that was a long time ago. I wouldn't really say Washington has won a natty in the Pac-12 era. But this 2023 Washington Huskies team might just be the team to do it. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But it's going to be a fantastic game against Texas. And they have to ultimately win that game to get to their final destination, which will be the national championship. And next year, Washington will be heading into the Big Ten. And maybe they won't be as good next year because they're losing a lot of veterans. But I honestly don't know. But a national championship is definitely possible. And I'm excited to see what Kalen DeBoer and this Washington team can do in the playoffs this year. And ultimately what they can do moving forward against teams like Michigan and Ohio State. And I'm excited to see the rivalry between Dan Lanning and Kalen DeBoer continue on. Washington and Oregon both have bright futures, and they both have second-year coaches. So that rivalry is going to be awesome to watch every year. But what do you guys think about Washington winning the national championship this year? Do you guys think it's possible? Let me know down in the comments below. But anyways, that's going to do it for the video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Because we post daily college football videos. And I got a lot of videos planned for the month of December, including more videos about the playoff teams. And I will also start posting my bold predictions for every bowl game starting next Monday. And I will have 5 separate videos over the span of a couple of weeks. So I hope you all enjoy Christmas season. And I hope you all enjoy the bowl games. And tune in for more videos like this. But that's going to do it, guys. And peace out.